2. A mic check, a 1, a 2. Yeah, all right. Let's just get into it. It's been a minute. Let's get it. Oh, good morning. We need to mute that. Good morning, and welcome back to Your Future Hand. My name is Jules J. Julian Biggs. Whatever you want to call me, it doesn't matter. Still trying to figure that out. It is 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is cold here. The sun is out. The sky is blue. Things are nice. It's 9:30 a.m. It is January 15th. The market looks exactly the same as it did a month ago and even further than that. And people are freaking out. Why are they freaking out? Because we did have a 10% drop or maybe 13% drop, something like that. We can measure it out and have a look. I have changed the way this stream looks, but I feel like speed. I think I could slow this down and then it won't be as distracting in the background. Maybe that's better. Maybe that's better. We're going to try it. We're going to let it run. We're just doing a quick market scope today. We are just doing quick market scope. So let's get into it. This is the fibs. So the breakout, like I said, I feel like the breakout happened 6-8 weeks ago. Sure enough, that's the case. We're still playing these fibs. A lot of talk on crypto Twitter. So if you're not on X, go ahead and you can give me a follow on X at Web3 Jules. And I try to, I got a little few updates here and there. I'm going to try and get more active on X because it seems to be where the conversation is, and it seems to be where the good conversation is. So if you want to learn more about crypto, if you want to be more in the conversation, I strongly suggest you get onto X and start being more involved in Web3 in general. Get the fuck out of Meta and Web2 and all these places encroaching on our civil rights and liberties. So, let's move forward. What's the price doing? Right now, the price is $42,667. And to me, like I said, this breakout happened before we exceeded this line. And this line of resistance goes back to the previous all-time high of the 2017-2018 bull run high, as well as the support that we caught through 2020 and 2021. And acted as resistance again. So you can see we had this pattern, and this other one is it's a different resistance line that came in through the annual, but it also runs back to 2013 bull run high is this other one. So we can actually just get that in the mix because that's the triangle pattern. To me, that was the breakout that brought us above the resistance of previous runs and previous run support. So major line here, this orange line. And since that move, I've established this fib line. So on the positive move, because all this is speculation. All that pump is speculation. Okay, so should we have launched to the moon on an ETF? No, because there's no retail here. There's no one paying attention that mattered. And anybody who was paying attention knows that it's better for them to own their own Bitcoin and hold it in cold storage and have self-custody, right? That's the whole point of this, is to have control and custodianship and just kind of, sovereignty with your own wealth and value moving forward. So, where y'all are. Yeah. So nothing unexpected to me. The only wallet that's sold, in my opinion, that really means anything or matters is the Grayscale GPTC fund itself. Because they've been accumulating money for Bitcoin for a couple of years there. And they drained about $2.8 billion right out of the gate. So that to me is this. So what little speculation was there for people to bring that up to 49K, what little speculation was there was soaked up by Grayscale unloading some of that GPTC fund. Now, I should have found out how big it was because I imagine they're going to continue to drain that. They're going to continue to drain that fund, but they can't just dump it out of nowhere. They can't just dump it on you because they need people to trust the ETFs still, right? So I am not overly concerned about this thing dumping sub 40K at this point. But you can see the bottom of this moves 37.6. It's $37,630 approximately on the daily chart of this pattern breakout that I found significant. Now, you might Listen to somebody else. Did you guys hear that notification? That's weird. I don't like that. Yeah. So 37,600 being the bottom of what I would have called the breakout 6-8 weeks ago, right? And we talked about this, going to the 50% fib of the 2022 bear trend or bear market, if you want to call it that. I don't see it as a bear market, but that's what people will tell you. So if we bring that back out, oh, right, I made a post with all this. We can delete that. Well, actually, no, that actually shows it perfect, right? So this is actually showing you the previous resistances and highs and how they kind of line up with the previous bull runs, right? And watching these things flip into support, this is how I knew it was going to continue to go up. And when everyone thought it was going to bust right down and maybe go down to 12K, and everyone's been moving the goalposts since 16, when we told you this thing was just going north right till the end of 2023, and sure enough it did, is because of these things. So now I know people say that you can't count on TA in Bitcoin for some reason. There's a lot of that talk in crypto Twitter, but it's just Shirley Sound is in the house. Big branch on the scene. Yeah, so a lot of people say that TA doesn't work with Bitcoin, but it's what we got. Okay, and the history of markets and the language in the candles is what we have to go off. Price will always move to the liquidity. It just always does. Doesn't matter if you believe in TA or not, it's going to where the fucking liquidity is, and that generally lines up with previous chart. So let's go in here. So we have the breakout, right? And now we're looking at the monthly chart, so it's even cleaner. So if we get down to that line, we have the breakout. Maybe we're going to do a retest on this line, right? So if we look at the monthly chart to where that breakout was, and the top of the move was in my opinion, the first top of the move. So when we went to 44,729, that is the move that I'm watching, and that is the move that we've been retracing. You can see that we hit the 1618 perfectly, and we've headed back down. So the breakout hit the target, and we're coming down. It's got nothing to do with anything with this fucking ETF speculation, because that's all it is speculation. Okay, so the GBTC fund becomes useless. They start dumping it into the market. And it's all on speculators. So this was all paper hands, people who fucking waited for 40K to buy into Bitcoin, over leveraged, and people who are over leveraged, right? So yeah, we can go back into the daily here. What's Marty Boggs got going on? Shirley Sound, ladies and gentlemen. How was his? Actually, it's still a long weekend. That's the other thing too, is that the markets aren't even open today. The markets aren't even open today. In America. It's Martin Luther King MLK weekend, isn't it? Something like that? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think, but they do have a long weekend. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's look at the fibs on the daily. I'm not going to go under the daily. Actually, I was trading the 4 hour a bit, but we're gonna be on the daily here. And I know it's funny. We haven't really got our reach out there because we haven't marketed anything. But I've been a lot more involved in the Twitter Spaces, which is really where the conversation of crypto is happening. So, continue with this YouTube thing. But the Spaces on Twitter are really, if you want to get involved in a conversation and just hear what's going on from a very wide range of experience from people who have been in since the beginning. I was listening to some stories the other day from a guy who is at the first ever Bitcoin conference, and he's telling me about the place that he stayed in. He was invited there by some hacker, and it was like literally these guys had like this floor of a building like rented out, and it was just like couches and chip bags and fucking computer setups and all this stuff, and it was pretty crazy. So the conversations on crypto Twitter are really interesting if you want to learn just where it's come from and how far it's come and how stable it is now in comparison to what it was like in the past. Anyway, that being said, we're here on YouTube. We're gonna keep it going. Liberty and trust. Yo. Holiday in the U.S. Yeah, but you're at work. He's at work. It's a holiday in the U.S. This guy's at work still. Fucking getting it. He's just trying to buy more sats though, so it's all good. He's maybe getting some OT today. And stacking them sats. Can bring around a bit. Closed the long ahead from 42,777. I played the long. So I mean, the regulators, in my opinion, and they handed it to us. So I mean, people are looking at these red candles and saying that was a sell the news event, but it's like, how can you say that the sell the news event? Because like I said, the breakout was fucking 6-8 weeks ago. And as far as I'm concerned, we're still in a retest mode on the larger time frame charts. Okay, so I know we scalped the daily, we scalped the 4 hour and everything under, but still looks really stable to me. You can't tell me this was a sell the news event when we're still really, really nicely trending above the original breakout, in my opinion, because we hit the target. 48K was the target. I called that actually November 30th. November 30th, I said we're going to hit 48K. And we went to 48.9. So, I mean, a little hype there in the ETF. Obviously, people pushed it a little further with some leverage. But as soon as we got to there, that it started hitting the limit sells for the GPTC fund, and Grayscale started unloading into the market, right? Which is painful to see, but yeah. But what are we looking at now? Again, we're trying to tackle the 78.6% fib of this move and get above that, and that's about $42,766. So you know we love the 2s and the 8s here. You can see that line's right up at the 42.8. I am in a long position, and I think it's a little bit in the red because we didn't get down far enough to my last order. So my strategy is generally DCA into nice low leverage longs, and then ride them up for these positions here. So I had a really nice juicy trade on the news of the ETF, but I only closed half of it up here, and I wish I closed the whole thing, but that's just the way it goes. So the rest broke even, and I'm stacking my way back in because there's nothing telling me that this thing should just dump and lose this line of support that we have right now. And if I lose a bit of those profits from that nice juicy long, then that's okay. Because getting low prices now this is your last chance at low prices. Like this bull run, that's it. With ETF money coming in, this is what people I don't think they understand. So even if you don't believe in ETFs and you're a self-custody guy and whatever, that's great because so am I. But the reality of the ETFs is that it's making it safe for people who want middlemen. There's some people in finance who have a lot more money than you or I, or these people in crypto, that want to allocate, so even to all the average elderly person, right, has $1 million or a couple million or maybe even 5 million or more, right? They're going to be a lot more comfortable going, okay, say I could put 1 to 3% of my savings and my wealth into Bitcoin because I trust this guy and he's regulated and he's got all this licensing from the SEC and yada yada, and now I feel comfortable getting into the market, right? There's the users, the 1% of people in the population right now. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of rich people in crypto, but there's also a lot of people just trying to beat the system and beat inflation with just a small amount of money. So I do believe the larger money is coming. Pension funds are coming. Once 1 or 2 of the bigger pension funds in America starts getting into Bitcoin and people realize what's going to happen, the flood's going to come. It's not going to happen overnight. The gold ETF Seward at first, pretty sure. We can go back to 2004 on the gold chart, and I'm sure that that doesn't look great right out of the gate either. But the reality is that big money's coming, and it's going to come in steadily. So whatever this pullback is, I hope it's another 30%. There's a lot of scare out there now about another 30% dip. I fucking hope so, because I do not have enough. I do not have enough of this stuff, and neither do you, right? The other thing I want to talk about too with crypto Twitter and what's going on in the space, and the majority of the conversation, the thing that I'm surprised about and why I will continue this channel. And I had a serious thought about this over the last few weeks of whether I was actually going to continue with this channel or not and continue to update you guys on the price. And I do think it's important. And I feel it's more important now because I don't think there's enough Bitcoin maxis out there because people are bored of Bitcoin. Okay, and this is why it's going to take a couple of generations to change people away from this fucking greed mentality. Because now there's 2 million cryptos. Now there's 2 million cryptos, right? That is why. It's just because people are trying to scam you. They know that the initial launch of a project they can fucking just dump on their whole community. And it's insane. These people, there's people sponsored. The sponsors are hiding. They don't want you to know they're being sponsored. They shill fucking tokens or whatever, the NFT or whatever it is to these influencers on Twitter, and they literally just shit on their whole community. They use their communities as exit liquidity. It's disgusting, and it's the absolute opposite of what Bitcoin was designed for. And everybody's just using the cryptography to fucking scam you, and it's wild. And the biggest hustlers with the biggest communities are the worst fucking ones out there. and it's fucking rough. I can't, like, I don't even, it's wild to me. And that's why I'm going to continue this channel, and that's why I'm going to continue to try and grow on X, because I don't give a fuck. Everyone's, and the other thing too, the whole other side of it, people are like, oh, let people have their fun, don't expose people and this and that. Oh, fuck that. If people don't like being exposed for being a piece of shit, that's too bad. I don't care, right? So, I don't know, you know, I've rebranded too as Web3 Jules, but I think I'll just go, you know, I might piss some people off, but the whole thing with Web3 is it's about transparency. You know what I mean? And if you're not ripping anybody off and you're out there and you're doing good for your community, you should be able to use your real name, right? You should be able to use a PFP of your own face, right? And if you can't, if you're hiding, and if you don't feel that you're not comfortable enough to put your face online, you're not comfortable enough to put your you know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to put your personal information on there, but still, like, you should be able to be yourself in this space if you're trying to do good for people. If your community's really out there to help people and support them and make them money, then why are people hiding out there? Why are the sponsors hiding? Why are people not being honest about who is sponsoring them in their spaces, et cetera, right? You don't need anything other than Bitcoin. And when you get away from Bitcoin, everything else is just fucking greedy. So Ethereum, okay, the next best thing. Can we start calling Ethereum its own thing? Does it get a status as elite as Bitcoin? You know what I mean? Like, there's use case there. They've got more utility and use case. You could build more on Ethereum than you can on Bitcoin. But I feel like a lot of these projects and everything underneath, because people are just focused on, they want a 10x, they want a 20x, they want a 1000x. And maybe you can get that down here. But it's gambling. And most times when you gamble, you're going to get wrecked. You're going to get wrecked. And especially if you don't make your own decisions out here. Because I guarantee if you're getting into these communities and fucking trying to chase the bag that 1,000 other people or whatever are trying to chase, ooh, you know what I mean? It's musical chairs. And you better hope you fucking end up with a chair, man. But Bitcoin is always going to have a chair. So, you know, that's why I'm in Bitcoin. Plus they invest other people's millions. Yeah, they raise capital and shit too, right? It's crazy. Question is if we test base bottom or continue up. Yeah, I mean, at the bottom of those fibs there, you mean? Bottom of those fibs, 41,777. Yeah, that's a good number. 41.7. Yeah, what was the low we hit there though? We went just under 41K, and the bottom order for my DCA long was 40,300. So I might have been a little too low on that. I think I had that on a 4-hour fib. But if I had put that at the 41K, it might have got in. That trade's actually still open, but it's very small at this point. But I want long exposure. That's the thing. We're coming into a bull run, so if you're not greedy, you wait, you DCA in. I did take profits up here. Like we tell you, DCA in, DCA out. That's how you stay on top of this game. The idea is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. So it's not like I'm not trying to run out and buy all the toys and get rich. Like, I'm trying to stack my value and stack my savings and my sats for this bull run. The bull run is coming. And over the next 2 years, this thing will see targets above 100K. A lot of people think that 100K is coming overnight. They still think it's coming overnight. But that's just crazy to me. That's just crazy to me. ETH is good for long term, hold and staking. Yeah, definitely good for long term. High gas fees on ETH for like almost everything, but also the transaction fee for Bitcoin is also it's pretty high right now too. But that should just say, you know, don't move it, just hold it. And if you want to trade, like really study trading, sit down by yourself. I mean, you know, maybe you can ape in once in a while or pay for somebody's VIP Discord or whatever and get a trade, but I don't know. If you want to trade, just sit down and find a strategy and just use that strategy, right? Test that strategy. Write down the trades, write down the entries, write down the exits. You know what I mean? Track your percentages, track how long you were in the trade, what chart did you take it on, how many candles were you in that trade, things like that. And don't get married to them. That's my problem with trades. I still do it, was that if I had closed if I had closed my total trade when we hit the 1618 fib here, that would have been my best trade on Bitcoin ever. And it was still pretty close, but I only closed half up there. But it was my largest trade that I was comfortably putting in, and I got married to it, and I only closed half. And yeah, so all what I can say is plan your trades, write them down, and stick to your damn plan. There's always more trades out there. But if you're not trying to learn how to trade, then DCA. You buy as often as possible, and you will kill it. If you had DCA'd every day in 2023, you would have doubled your money. Doubled your money, which is awesome, right? The higher the price of BTC, the cheaper it becomes to move miner strength. Let me read that again. The higher the price of BTC, the cheaper it becomes. Yeah. Cheaper it becomes to move. More people turn on their miners, strengthen the network. Yeah, and that with the miners too is that generally we would see a really large run up. So this is the other thing too, is that everyone's expecting these massive run again. And I'm not saying it can't happen. I do have a target in mind. And my target is, I would say, fairly conservative at $157,000. $157,000 to $170,000 is what I'm targeting for this run. And I think that's conservative because it does have the potential to go further if people go as crazy as people say. I just don't see it because we need to understand that if that happens, like legacy finance is going to have to detonate if that's the case. Do you really think they're going to fucking blow up the dollar system right now? Like they're going to blow up the dollar. They're going to blow up do you know how much money trades in USD every day? Like I don't think people really truly understand how much money is actually out there. So I am optimistic, but I am also realistic in what I think can happen. Right. So I'm holding Bitcoin. So if it goes to $1 million, great. But settle down. And all these people with these ETFs that are telling you to fucking wait for $600 to $1 million in 2030 are going to use you for exit liquidity in 2026. So know that everybody else is taking profits in this market too. Right. But if you just DCA, it doesn't matter. You don't have to pay attention to the market. You don't have to pay attention to the price. You just DCA and you hold. If you treat it like your RSP or your savings, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't be money that you need to spend anyway, right? But I trade and I'm trying to make money. But I'll show you why I have my target of $157,000 because I trade fibs. That's the strategy I chose, and I really like it. So look at this. Oh, we gotta add the 1618 though. I have it. Whoops, there we go. Had it reversed for some reason. Oh, because I was on the other chart. Anyway, so the 1618 of the bearish move from 2022 would be $172,000. Now, I think it has the potential to go there, but they like to cut things short on us. As you can see, even just getting back to the 78.6 of this move should have been around $50,000, just over $50,000. So that's the other thing too. Like, you know, if I look at the weekly or if I look at the monthly, like it changes. So I'm still learning and where the elites or whatever you want to call them, the bigger players in these trade markets are actually placing their fibs. Because if I move the fibs now to the retest and the actual breakdown here on the move, and then the double bottom, you can see that we hit, and fuck, I wish I had done that earlier. We hit this 78.6% fib perfectly there. It was 48,667, depending on where we put this fib. So where did that actually move the top target? To $154,000, which is perfect because I'm saying I'm targeting 150. What do they say? 157. So that's close. So $154,000 for a target on this bull run. That makes sense to me. And I don't want to, like, I'm bullish, long-term bullish. I hope it goes to $1 million or $500,000, but I just don't know. You know, there's a reason the governments are accumulating the mass amounts of this stuff, and they're gonna impede growth. And when they watch retail try to take off with it, they're not gonna let it happen, right? This thing would have to decouple the S&P 500 right now, right? So here's the S&P 500, which is what basically leads legacy finance and leads all of the markets. And you can see it's in this giant cup and handle pattern that already broke out and has confirmed, and it's created a second attempt here on the weekly chart to break through the all-time high, which is coincidentally $4,800, 10% of what the Bitcoin market is. You notice these things follow each other, right? $10 is $1,000 or $100 on Bitcoin, right? And they generally follow each other. So this thing went up to 48. We went up to 48, and now we're waiting, and it's interesting. So in order for Bitcoin to just smash through these fucking highs right now and continue to move, it would have to completely decouple from the market, which is why we see the volatility in the trade range, because people still want to trade this. People are still going to trade it. So if it can't go any higher, the veterans are going to push it down. If it can't go any lower, the veterans are going to push it up, right? So, I mean, it doesn't really matter day to day what the price is, but it matters what the narrative in the other markets are, in my opinion. So the market's not open today. Legacy finance is not open today. That's why Bitcoin's not doing anything. That's why it's just kind of dragging around. It's been there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks since the beginning of December, last week in November, because the S&P 500 doesn't know what it's doing yet. So what's going to affect the price of this week is war, right? We got war happening. We had bombs dropping in fucking Yemen. There's war going on all over the world. These are all things that affect this narrative. The other thing is I want to pay attention to is that nobody's paying attention to, because there's all this hype on the ETF news, is that we're still going to have CPI inflation numbers and everything else come out for 2023 and December numbers, right? And if they didn't, if we had inflation at, I don't know, they said 4% or something like that, they got it down to from 10. Then it's probably more like 6 or 7. Or maybe even higher, still closer to 10 potentially, because we can see in the price of our daily goods that they didn't really sort anything out, right? So my concern is that they still slam us with another rate hike before they start doing rate cuts. Everybody's expecting rate cuts this year, and so am I. We know they're coming, but are they coming right away, or do we have to fucking give you one more rate hike for another month or two before we start sorting this thing out and getting it moving back to the upside again? Because when the rate cuts come, this thing is just going to go fucking crazy, right? But I don't know. I still feel like a bigger pullback is necessary. So here was my prediction on another fib chart, and you can see that we didn't hit that fib. I want to move this fib to actually that. I'm going to start doing that and not going to the wicks. I don't feel like the wicks are super important anymore. And if you see, if I move these to the candle closes, the lines of the fib is actually a little bit closer. Anyway, so here was my prediction that I put on X there or whatever. And I still think that could happen. And that's just because we've been following the S&P 500 for a couple of years, and the chart pattern looks exactly the same. It's exactly what the S&P did. So we're right here right now, in my opinion, and potentially even right here. So maybe we didn't get above the 78.6 like these guys did. And if we actually just, let's do what we did over there and move this back to the candle closes and see how that looks. Candle closes. Yeah, it's not much different. But you can see it went back down and retested the 50% fib, which is already all the way down at 4,100. So to me, I was thinking, potentially we get over the 78.6% fib and then pull back to the 50% fib. But the thing with Bitcoin and how the indicators or the tools don't really work is because the volatility is so much greater than any market we've ever seen before, right? It doesn't really work the same. Like a lot of people trade EMAs, and you can trade EMAs, but I think they leave a lot on the table also, as in compared to ranges and fibs, in my opinion. But if we're talking about just percentage of market cap or percentage, like price percentage, if it's 10% of the Bitcoin market, 41, well, we already hit that. So there, there is the potential that Bitcoin just goes right back up. And this is saying right to the all-time high, $69,000. So that could be the flood of ETF money that people are talking about. Because Grayscale dumping $2.8 billion to me doesn't mean fuck all. I want them to dump their bag. I hope they dump all their bag. Because everyone else will just buy it back up. Right? So I'm not worried about a price pullback here. Because I still think we could run up to the all-time high. No problem. Before the end of 2024. Can I put a line there? Where's the all-time high? Oops, not quite there. There. All-time high. Let's put a line there. Yeah, I think we can get there before the end of 2024. What do you think? I say October. Unless it just it shoots there right away. That's the other thing too, is that if they know that everybody's getting in here, the moves are going to be quick because they don't want you to get rich. They want to keep people as separated as possible. They want the gap of wealth as large as possible. So the moves in Bitcoin will be dramatic. They will try to shake out leverage. They will try to... They're just going to try to shake you out, period. They want your Bitcoin. They want your Bitcoin. They want you to buy the ETF. If they buy all the Bitcoin, you buy the ETF, they continue to keep things the way they are. Right? But if we want democracy in our future, I truly believe that owning Bitcoin is how we do that. I don't see how else it happens because it's the most honest transaction to have ever existed on the planet. So, yeah, that's my take today. I was just going to do a quick little update, but I think I'm like 30 minutes into rambling here because I like to ramble. But, yeah, that's about it for the day. Yeah, do me a favor, smash the like, share if you like. Like I said, I thought about it over the last week of whether or not it was worth it to continue doing on YouTube, but I really think it is. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Let's try to get it out there and bring people into the conversation. I'd like to see new people come in. When we get a little bit of a community built here, we will start doing some Twitter Spaces. What I would like to do is talk to the newcomers and give them a voice in the space and bring them up and not make them feel ostracized because they don't know as much or whatever. Because I feel like there's a lot of that in the space too, a lot of fun poking and shit. And I'm just going to try and curb that and open the conversation to people. So yeah, smash the like, do the things, drop a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, or maybe something you'd like to hear in another update, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bigs out.
Bigs and Bogs.